What we're going to do in this video is find the mean and the standard deviation using some of the built-in formulas in Excel. So we're going to start out by finding the mean, and recall that the mean is found by computing the sum of the x times, which is an asterisk on Excel, the p of x's. Okay, so we need to find x times p of x for each of these x's and its corresponding probabilities, and then we're going to add all them up. So what we want is the sum of this product, so we use a command called sum product. So if you go here to the formulas and you go to the math trig formulas and you look for sum product, and the formulas are in alphabetical order, so there's the sum product. And then see here you get this pop-up menu where they want array 1 and array 2. And array 1 are going to be the x's, because we're going to be multiplying x's times the p of x's. So array 2 will be the p of x's. So notice I just click and drag to highlight those arrays. The answer is already down here, 2.27. But I'll click OK, and then it's in the box that I had highlighted previously. And I actually set the number of decimals using these buttons here. I set it to just the tenths place, because our rounding rule is to round the mean and standard deviation to one more decimal place than the values of the random variable. Our values of the random variable are whole numbers, so we're going to round to one decimal place. So we find the mean is 2.3. Now, what we want to do is find the standard deviation, and you may recall that the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So it's going to first be important to find the variance, and we're going to do that using the formula and the sum product command as well. So recall that the variance is found by doing the sum of the product, the squared difference of x and the mean, so x minus mean squared times the corresponding probabilities p of x. Okay, so this then is how we find the variance. We want a sum of the products, which is the difference of the mean squared times p of x. So we already have their p of x's. What we need then is a column for the squared differences of x minus the mean. So this column will be represent x minus the mean squared time, oops, and we don't need the times. So the x minus mean squared. Okay, so I'm going to type that in. And remember, for Excel you have to hit the equals first, so equals, parenthesis, and for x I'm actually going to click the cell A2. By doing that, I'll be able to copy this formula, and that will automatically change as the row changes. Minus, I want to subtract this mean of 2.3. Now here though, if I click the cell, again, when I copy this to the other cells, this would also change as I move to the different rows. I don't want that C9 to actually change. So I'm going to finish here though and do the squared. But since I want C9 to be fixed, I want it to be a constant rather than a variable, I have to fix it using Excel, and one way to do that is to hit F4, and notice when I hit F4, what did I just do? When I hit F4, let's do that again. So I want C9, but I don't want it to change as it moves. So again I hit F4, alright, and by doing that, then this here, the dollar signs are in front of the row and column. So these dollar signs fix it. So notice when I point to the bottom right here till it becomes a plus, click the mouse and drag to copy the formula. As the formula is copied, notice that this A, here where I had A2, down here now in row 3 it changes to A3 as I move to row 4 changes to A4. So in the different rows, the cell is changing for that row. But notice how C9 always stays C9, and that's because it was fixed and made a constant by putting the dollar signs in front. So you can actually type in those dollar signs, or you could just fix it using an F4 command. So now I have the squared differences, and I can find the variance by finding the sum of the squared differences, or I should say finding the sum product of the squared differences with the p of x. So in this cell here, I will find the variance. So remember, sum product, we go to formulas, math trig, scroll down to s's to find sum product. Our pop-up box says array 1, this is the squared differences. Array 2 are the probabilities. So corresponding values in array 1 and array 2 will be multiplied together and then summed up to get this value here. So when we click OK, and then I can reduce the decimals, and I have a variance of 1.5. Now we want the square root. The standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So square root, there's also a formula for that. You could type it, or you could just go to math trig, scroll down again to the s's for square root. Here's this sqrt. We want the square root of this variance, that cell in D11. Click OK, and I already have it set to one decimal place, and there's the 1.2. So here then I have found the mean and standard deviation, boom, for this probability distribution here using Excel and sum product to get 2.3 for the mean and a standard deviation of 1.2. Now you can also find, oh no, I'm getting ahead of myself. When we get into descriptive statistics where we actually have sample data, there's going to be other ways that we can find these values. But for the probability distribution, you have to use a sum product as I've shown you here.